Hey guys, here we are. Hopefully you're here, some of you, somewhere. If this is working, is it coming through? What were you shaking your head at then?
I'm just shaking my head so I'm not talking. Waiting for Kiwi Classics and Customs.
No, my phone's not even going to work. It says I'm live. Oh, here we go. I've got messages. Hey, you got me, guys? Nothing?
I haven't, no.
We see you.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. And you can hear me, dude? Okay, looks like I'm live. For real this time. Yay, still having trouble. I think we've decided we think it must be the internet here at the house because the computer, and I've tried 3 different computers we got here, my work one, my wife's one and her work one, and the laptops will not work. So, but hey, here I am in that vertical only view. Sorry about that, guys. But, you know, it's a little more movable. I can pan you around and show you the sights if you're interested. But yeah, here we are. How are you all doing tonight, guys? Who we got in the house? Pops Mustang, hey buddy. Steve Sadusky, good to see you. Well, no, you know what I mean, see you, but hear you. Unfinished Project, cool, good to have you in. Gary Dutton, all the way from North Queensland, nice. Townsville. I've never been to Townsville. I mean, I've heard about it many times, but never been there. Joss H, how you doing? Unfinished Project, cool. We've got a few of us in here already. That's awesome. Andy Nickel, how you doing, man? Stray Bullet, Alan Shildrow, Robert Meyer. Yes, it is another cold one, buddy. Yeah, it's cold here, and it's going to be very cold tonight. I think we're getting down to like 19 degrees or something overnight. And snow. I'm not sure whether it's snowing yet, but they said it was going to snow by 9 o'clock, so probably not quite snowing yet, but hey. Driveway of Misfits, hey buddy. Yeah, Steve Sadusky, yeah, it is cold. It's cold at work, man. I was working on a car this morning. I had to do it outside and had, not rubber gloves, but proper gloves on, just trying to keep my hands warm. And man, it's hard trying to work on anything with proper gloves on. I don't even like working on stuff with the rubber gloves on, but with, excuse me, with with gloves that are meant to keep your hands warm, it's very hard to work on shit. Thomas Dolman. Vertical view makes me look thinner. Well, maybe I should make that a permanent thing then. Stray Bullet. What's in the box? I don't know. What box? Oh, the box. Oh, that's actually that's a TV box behind me. Like the flat screen TV box, which is meant to have been put away in the attic, but we just haven't quite got there yet after doing all the repainting and shit. Driveway of Misfits. Arctic is heck up here in New York this week. Yeah, I'll bet. Sixth Street's Garage. Hey, man. Roy Miller. Hey, good to have you here. Andy Nickel, 22 degrees Celsius, -8. Oh, in Edmonton, wow, -8. Man, that's cold. Damn. Because I'm sort of used to Celsius. When you say -8, it's like, oh, yeah, that's fairly cold. But no, -8 is, what's that, 40 degrees below freezing, isn't it, in Fahrenheit? It's like, dang, that's cold. So you guys seem to enjoy the video on the shop truck, which is cool. That's good. Steve Sadusky, how'd the engine swap go? Yeah, it went good. It took a little bit of mess. Like once I fixed that, that obvious fuel leak was squirting out of that crossover pipe. Fixed that, so then it had fuel pressure inside the carburetor, up to the needle and seats. and it was flooding like a mother trucker, and it didn't want to run. It kind of gave me fits for a little bit until I could stop. Put a new needle and seat in it, and then it would then it was kind of half-ass running, and put a couple of fresh O-rings in it, and a couple of other, and a different power valve, and it came right. It's running good now. So stray bullet. I use those boxes to slide under my vehicles when I work on them. Yeah. It's not a bad option when you don't have a lift. Yeah. Now, Wildman, why didn't you just rebuild the engine that came out of the truck? Yeah, that's a fair question. And had I not had a spare free one under the bench, looking for a home, then I probably would have. But even rebuilding it, yourself, by the time you buy bearings and rings and gaskets, you're in for a few bucks. And there was an engine just looking for a place to live, so just whip that one out, and it's quicker. Like it takes time to build an engine, to go through it, and do a reasonable kind of, even a bit of a shade tree recondition. It still takes time putting new rings on pistons and getting everything as relatively clean. It just takes time, and as fast, we got that one out, and like we could basically drop that one, walk over, grab the other engine, and start putting it in. Like 3 minutes later, we could start with the reinstall. So it was really just the obvious situation. Now, I'm not quite sure what I'll do with that old engine. Maybe we'll put it to one side somewhere, and as a backup. It's a 302 core, which is, and I don't think there's too much wrong with it. I think it's just the bearings were worn on it. It's a 302 core, which they're, like most engines of that era, they're getting harder and harder to get, even though they made them right up to, when did they stop making the 302? Was that late 80s, or was it it was into the 90s, I think. So Mark Strulia, yes, I did. Thank you very much. I actually, I sent you a message back on Messenger. You may not have seen it, but saying thanks. That was awesome. For you that don't know, Mark messaged me a couple of weeks ago, I guess, and said he had a horn button, the centre button out of the steering wheel for Large Marge, which I don't, and he had one, and he's very, very kindly sent me one. Said, here you go, have this, buddy. So, I really appreciate that. I actually tried it into the steering wheel, and it just fitted in there perfect. That's awesome. I appreciate it. That will be a sin. I've got to reinstall the horn ring onto the car, and that little button will be going in there. That'll be perfect. That just finishes it off nicely. So I appreciate that very much, Mark. Stray Bullet, you didn't see the truck videos yet. I put it out last night. Published it last night about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And it's already had, I think, over 4,000 views already, I think. So, it's a good video. You have to go looking for that after the live, mate. It's there. But we did get it running on camera briefly, but it was leaking lots of fuel. We kind of had to shut it down. That was the end of the video. But I've since the video was made, I've got it running properly. Actually drove it. The brakes aren't worth a damn. You can slow it down from like 5 miles an hour, but beyond that, it would be scary. Gary Dutton, 33 degrees in Townsville. That's one extreme to the other, isn't it? But that's the opposite seasons around from Australia to here. It's very different. Steve Sadusky, so the lifters pumped back up. Yes, they did. Once I actually, got it running where it would run, like initially when I first got it fired back up, it wouldn't run at anything below half throttle because it was just leaking so much fuel down the carburetor. So once it got on top of that, and just were able to let it idle for a couple of minutes, they quietened right down. It seems pretty good, and it's got good throttle response. I think it's quite a solid engine actually. So, which is, that's nice. The baller, do a backflip. Really? What makes you think I would be capable of doing a backflip? Mark how do we say that, Mark? Struglia? 4 degrees in Missouri right now. Wow. Yeah, it's cold. Dean Stevenson, how are you, mate? Good to have you along. Wildman 318, love your videos. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Kiwi Mars. Oh, Mrs. Kiwi's in the house. Giving me, what is that little icon she's put up there? Popcorn? Not sure what that is. Straight bullet. I think the Explorers were the last to get the 302. Yeah, they probably were, mate. That's probably right. Maybe a couple of the vans. Some of the vans had the 302s in them as well. But what years, I'm not really sure. Beagle Bob, hey, Kiwi is live. Must be Tuesday. Well, this is true. This is right. It must be Tuesday. Jeffrey Pargo, hello, hi, how you doing, man? Hans Hugendry K, Hugendry K. I'm making that up, aren't I? Hans Hugendijk. That's better, isn't it? 2001 for the 302 550. Last car was the 2001 Australian Fairlane. Oh, really? Okay. 2001. That's a little bit longer than I was thinking. Mark Strelia. Yes, it is a 58 cap. Oh, okay. The 59 has Plymouth printed on them. Okay. Well, I mean, that, yeah, I'm happy with that, man. It doesn't have to have Plymouth written in it. I know it's a Plymouth. And what I think is quite cool about those, that centre cap for the steering wheel is it mimics the actual hubcaps that were on the 59. It looks just like a little miniature 14-inch hubcap. Jeffrey Pargo, do you know at Tempora? No, I don't think I do. Granddad's Jung, hey man, welcome along. Good to see you here. I heard you got a bit of a starring role on Dr. Arts Live last night. Dean Stevenson, nice to be here. Husband of Mrs. Kiwi. Yeah, that's me, husband of Mrs. Kiwi. Sixth Street Garage, no black backflip, have another drink. Yep, that's me. Paul Dosange, 97 Toyota Camry with a 302. Really? That's what you've got? I've never seen a Camry with a 302 in it. That would be interesting. Although all the NASCAR Camrys appear to have V8s in them, but I don't think they made them at the factory that way. Mark Strelia, yes, looks like a 57 hubcap also. Yeah, probably does, yeah. Granddad's Chung, yes, it was fun my first time being on a live stream. There you go. See, you're never too old to do something new, eh, bud? So, what else we got going on at the shop? Been working on Casper. Been getting all the rear suspension straightened out, and that's about to roll off the rack again. We had that up on the rack last week. And yeah, sorting out all the Watts link and the coilovers and reinforcing the chassis rails, but there's a video coming on that one. Yeah, so that'll kind of show you what I've been up to there. And Dr. Art's been over at my place helping out a bit. So we've been working on another F100. Got a nice 70 F100 in the shop right now. Just so you know, if you ever have the idea that you might want to replace the windshield in your F100 bump side, if it has the stainless steel strips around that fit into the rubber, don't do it. I did it on this customer's one, and it took me best part of pretty much almost the whole day, about 6.5 hours, to get the windshield in it. And I was very close to putting a hammer through the windshield, but managed to contain myself. The frustration levels were definitely ramping up. That was Monday. It was a heck of a job. The stainless steel trim, the way it fits into, you have to put the rubber around the windshield, then fit the stainless steel trim into the rubber while keeping the rubber on the windshield, and then get that whole assembly into the truck without the stainless steel popping out again. And that's a test of any man's patience, if you ask me. But yeah, that's one of the fun things we did this week. Mark Strully, I'm building a 58 Plymouth and a 73 Pantera with a 351 Cleveland. Well, that's two different cars, isn't it? That's two very different cars. I meant Pantera. Yeah, no, I figured that was an autocorrect. Wow. So the 58 Plymouth, is that a four-door sedan, or what do you got? Wagon, hardtop? What do you got? Right. Jeff R. G'day from Glenelg, South Australia. I enjoyed your rust removal chemistry and electrolysis lesson. Yeah, that was, there's a bunch of videos about that stuff. Really, really is. But I thought it was worth doing my version of it just from my, my experience with it. I was a little skeptical it was going to work, and I was super impressed how well it did work in the end. But yeah, I kind of learned a little bit, so hopefully, I was able to share that with you guys. But I would definitely recommend it as a method of rust removal. I think it worked, well beyond my expectations. Renee Boggs, I want to see a pic of the planters is really lined. Of the planters is really lined to have it. Not sure what you're saying there, man. Sorry. Phil Buckley, hi there, Kiwi. Hey, man, good to have you along. Mark Strully, a two-door hardtop Belvedere. Nice. That'd be a nice car. The two-door hardtops were very slick looking. Very slick looking. What I think would be cool would be like a two-door hardtop wagon. And that did all very briefly run through my mind. That would be a neat thing to do to Marge. Get a donor two-door hardtop, use the windshield out of it because that gives you a 2-inch chop straight away, and convert it to two doors, and then continue the wagon roof on from where the two-door hardtop roof starts to drop, and make it a two-door hardtop wagon. I think that would be very cool, but also a very large amount of work. So that thought process entered my brain, and it exited shortly thereafter. Stray Bullet, I can remember getting a new windshield installed on my old Chevy for around $200. Yeah, typically I charge about $250 to install like a Mustang windshield, and that's with all the stainless trim, but the stainless steel trim clips on, and you can knock that out in probably an hour and a half, about an hour and a half or so, if it goes well. And like my F100, that needs a windshield, which I've got sat there ready to go in. And I'm probably going to do a video on that, on roping in, they call it roping in a windshield, with a gasket style windshield. But mine doesn't have the stainless steel trim, and that's going to be, that's a quick, simple job. But the stainless they put around, and I believe it's the same on the C10s, like that similar era C10, that late 60s, early 70s C10s. They had stainless trim that fitted in the rubber, and apparently they're an absolute bear to install as well, and I can well believe it now. Todd Denio, late but I made it. Well, the main thing is you made it, bud, so that's awesome. Good to have you along. Mark Australia, I have a 59 Plymouth two-door sedan parts car and a couple of 57 Plymouths, a four-door sedan and another coupe. The four-door is going to be a pickup. Wow, you're obviously a serious fan of the forward-look mopars. That's very cool. Hey, is your 59 Plymouth two-door sedan parts car, is that an automatic car, Mark? Because there might be another bit I could use from you. There's a little, if yours is a push button auto like my, if it is like my one, there's a little metal, like a little aluminum kind of metal panel that all the shifter buttons go through, that screws into the dash, and that's missing on my car. So I haven't been able to track one down as yet. But if you didn't need it, I got a home for it. And there'd be a Large March t-shirt in it for you, bud. Granddad's junk. Chris, how do you preface me and technology don't get along? Well, I mean, it's just an age thing, isn't it, bud? Me and you are probably in the same boat. Like technology, and anyone over about 30 these days is it's challenging, I find. So yeah, no, but no, good for you. You've got your head wrapped around it. That's awesome. I don't know, I mean, I have my days with technology, but there's more than a few days where me and technology don't get along. Which is why I like working on old cars and not modern computerised ones. Driveway of misfits. So for classic cars, do you charge book time for jobs or actual hours? I charge actual hours, mate. The book times, I haven't really come across a book system that dates back to the cars of the age that I typically work on. And there's so many other difficult issues when you get into 60-year-old cars, and to do it on book time, because brackets have been changed, bolts have been changed and broken, and it's typically the book time is not enough. It has been my experience. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a little generous, but so often with these old girls, they throw you curveballs, and it's just not as quick. And if it's like if it's taking a manual transmission out of a Mustang, well, I can do that quicker than the book time, and but I just charge as long as it takes, and because it's a bit of a swings and roundabouts, you'll have some other issue with it, something else you're doing to it that takes longer, purely because of the car's age and the difficulties that age presents. So yeah, it's actual hours. The other thing too is it's a little tempting to start cutting corners if you're doing actual hours. If you're thinking to yourself, I've got to get this done in 4.5 hours, and it can creep into your work ethic that okay, I've got to do it fast enough that I can do it in less or certainly no more than the book time given. And for me, I'll just do it right, and if it takes a bit longer, if there's a bit more clean up because there's 60 years worth of grunge on there or in a frozen bolt, then it takes a bit longer. I'm not going to half-ass it to keep it within the book time. And most people with these old classics, that's not really what they're looking for. They just want it fixed. And they know it's going to cost some money, and that's part of the cost of ownership, and that's not really, often it's just not that big a deal. Steve Sadusky, that black pickup truck in your garage was nice. Tell us a little bit about it, Kiwi Engine. That was a 6-cylinder truck, which was, he'd put air conditioning in it, and, he's working away at that. He's adding little bits and pieces and getting it nice, and we got it running good for him, and he's pretty much going to run it through summer, and then see, make a decision going into next winter is is he going to repower it? Is he going to like small block chev it? Is he going to put nicer front suspension? Personally, I think for that truck, I think you could leave the 6 in it, but I would, if it was mine, I would like that modern front suspension in it, as it just makes them drive more like a car and less like an old truck. Not a modern truck, but you know that beam front axle is not the greatest suspension that was ever devised. You know, they make them drive like a 50s truck, you know, and really the only way past that is to, you know, go up to a modern independent front suspension with preferably a rack and pinion steering, and it makes it just, yeah, a much nicer truck to live with, to drive, and it makes it something that you go, ooh, I'll take the truck, you know, rather than, it's, you know, I'll take the alternative because the truck's a bit of a chore to drive, you know. As soon as they become a chore to drive or just not that much fun to drive, that's when you need to look at why and probably address it. But yeah, that was a nice truck. Had a few rust bubbles coming up. Well, you know, it's a 55 truck. You know, it was in the next 2 years. It's going to need some attention to the bodywork and the rust work on it. But it's not bad. It's just little bubbly areas. But other than that, it was a pretty nice truck. It was a nice interior and yeah, not overpowered, but very capable as well. You know. Jeff, I saw you throw an old Holly 600 on the F truck to get it running. Do you hate Hollies for the same arm's length listless reasons as did Dodge Jamie? No, I wouldn't say I hate the Hollies. Honestly, I'm not a fan of Edelbrocks. You know, that seems to be a bit of a split camp on that. The Hollies are fairly rustic carburetor, shall we say. You know, it's a very, very old design and it's very simplistic. It's not the most fuel efficient carburetor, but it gets the job done. You know, yeah, I guess it's a little bit of what you're familiar with too. You know, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Edelbrocks, but you know, but I mean I like the quick fuel. I've had a really good run with those. They're quite fuel efficient. You don't get as much gasoline smell with them that you do with the regular Hollies or with the Edelbrocks. You know, they're at idle and stuff like that. They've got quite a bit of carburetor technology added them. And I mean, they're based off a Holly, but they're just more advanced. And I think it's an interesting story, but 2 or 3 of the guys that worked for Holly wanted to update the Holly because that's a 60s design, and they wanted to update it and make it, you know, moderner and better and more fuel efficient and better throttle response and all sorts of stuff like that. But upper management said no, the regular Holly's been, you know, working well for us for the last 40 years, 50 years. And, you know, they didn't see, you know, they saw the future in fuel injection and not in the Holly carbs. So they were told, no, we're just going to leave it the status quo. So those guys actually decided to go out on their own and reinvented the wheel and came up with quick fuel, and they copied a lot of the Holly. I mean, when you put them side by side, you can tell they're essentially the same carburetor. But yeah, they've got air correctors and they've got a lot of extra little stuff in there that just makes them work better. You know, they atomize fuel better. They do a lot of stuff better, and they took off. People, you know, they proved very popular, and Holly got upset about it. And they couldn't do anything because they hadn't breached any copyrights or anything. You know, it's only got to be 20% different to not infringe on copyright. So yeah, they were selling really well, and so Holly bought them back. Just bought the company Quick Fuel back, and now it's actually sold by Holly. Which, you know, I thought, you know, good on the guys for backing themselves. They knew they could make a better wheel, you know, figuratively speaking. And so they took the plunge and went out on their own, did it, and, you know, their old bosses kind of had to eat their hats and pay the money to buy them back. So I thought it was a good story. Good, good kind of human interest story. And it's like, America can do stuff. This was a couple, 2 or 3 American guys, and they went out, they did it. Like I said, they reinvented the wheel. They made a success of it. And Holly kind of, had to buy them back. Which I think is a cool story, I think. Now, what have we got? Alan Shildroff. Are the seat tracks usable, or did it make the metal too weak? No, definitely they're usable. There's a few areas that are a little thin and might need, probably going to need cutting out and rebuilding, or at least welding some of the deep pits and stuff like that. I just kind of get a little bit closer look at it. Plus, I want to get the other one stripped as well and just see exactly what we got left. But no, I think they'll be fine. Certainly they're not as strong as they were when they were, in 59, but I don't think they're compromised to the point where it's going to cause an issue, be it safety or probably, if anything, it may affect how smoothly they run backwards and forwards. That's probably going to be the biggest issue, where it may need a little resurfacing or something to make them run nice. But that's going to be a test it and see sort of thing. What's this? Glyph? How do you say that? GLYPHTW. Glyph W. Can you say 67? Yeah, I can say 67. I do say it with a Kiwi accent though, so you know, you just I don't know what I can do about that. Yeah, it's all good fun. The Aussies like making fun of the Kiwis for the way they say 6, because the Aussies think they think the way we say it, it sounds like 6, but yeah. But the Aussies say it 6. They really accentuate the I. Yeah. Volfly, good evening all. Like the electrolysis video, Kiwi. Well, good. Sure, a lot less messy than Sandblaster. Yeah, and I don't think the Sandblaster wouldn't have got inside the tracks where they were actually rusted together, like frozen. And it did take a while for the electrolysis system to get in there, but it did get in there. And the sand, the grains in the grains of sand that are getting blasted don't go around corners. They go in a straight line and they hit whatever's in front of them. So it would not have been able to get into the tracks. So yeah, I think it worked out pretty darn well. Barracuda, I heard of a prank where someone wound down their friend's driver's window and put some broken glass and a brick on his seat. Embarrassing when the glazier only had to wind it back up. That's a dirty trick. That's a dirty trick. Oh dear. Now, what do we got? Mark Strulia. No, it's a six-cylinder and a 3-speed manual. Well, never mind. I think the 59 push button is a strip of vertical buttons. It is, yeah. Try Big M in Northern California. John Fowley is the owner. Okay. Yep, I can do that. Yeah, it's not probably a part that people typically want, but someone's taken it off. Maybe they had the push button assembly out for some reason and just never quite got to putting it back in. But the buttons, the little buttons, there's 4 or 5 of them, they flop around, without having a little hole to actually slide through. So I've got to do something about that one day. Andy Nickel, did you catch any Daytona NASCAR? They're insane. 40 cars upwards, 200 mile an hour, bumper to bumper, bumping rear ends on purpose. Yeah, I didn't catch any of Daytona this year. No. Yeah, I've kind of my interest in NASCAR has waned a bit. I'll be honest. Like a few of the names that I followed have dropped out. and we've got these very young guys coming in, and I don't know whether it's because they're young or it shouldn't. I don't think it is, but I don't know. Like I used to enjoy it when Mark Martin was still racing, and Carl Edwards and some of those guys. And I've just I think it's just that I've lost touch a little bit with the young up and comers. I was paying a bit more attention to it when Marcus Ambrose was in it, the Aussie guy. And obviously now I think, I really want to see how Shane Van Gisbergen's going to go in NASCAR, because I'm a huge fan of him. Like he is an absolute superstar driver of whatever he lays his hands on. He can race anything: bikes, quad bikes, your rally cars, race cars, off-roaders, whatever. It doesn't matter. He is a superb driver in anything he sets his butt on. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And he's a Kiwi, and I know his dad personally. He's a friend of mine. As he's more in NASCAR, I'll definitely be. That'll it's probably what it's going to take to draw me back in, is having someone like that, the reason to go and watch. And it helps if you've got someone to support. It's like having your team in the NFL. If you don't have a team to follow, it's like, no, yeah. But yeah, when you've got someone to follow and someone that you're hoping is going to have a good weekend, then it just makes it that much more interesting. Thomas Dahlman, having a good time teaching my grandson and his friends about old school stuff, like rebuilding drum brakes and points in ignition. They are teaching me about late model tuning. Oh, really? That's cool. That's cool. So how old is the grandson and his friends? My mind immediately went to like someone under 10, but maybe that's not the case. Dean Stevenson, Barracuda, eat my shorts, dude. It's always been a pleasure to see you. I'm off duty, going to the lawyer. Wish me luck. Oh dear, going to the lawyer. That's never usually good. Yeah, good luck, Dean, with whatever your need is. Yeah. Volfly. As your attorney, Dean, I advise you to take a hit out of the brown bottle in my shaving kit. You won't need much. Just a tiny taste. Every bit helps, doesn't it? Dean Stevenson. I got a flyby picture of my mate Leiden's HQ Kingswood Commonwealth Games edition in Tianu. I remember those Commonwealth Games editions. They were white with a blue and red stripe on it, weren't they? About an inch wide stripe down the length of it that was kind of finished at a point at the front of the front fender. The red, white and blue. I remember those. I remember my old man talking about it with my old man because he quite liked them. And he was like, oh, I'd quite like one of those. I remember it well. Granddad's junk. I missed a couple of live streams. I had to go to Akaroa to put a boat up on the slip for cleaning and anti-fouling. Then I was down south in Invercargill. You're a busy man, aren't you, bud? Up and down the South Island there. I've only ever... it'd be interesting. I wonder what Invercargill's like in the summer. I know it's cold in the winter. I've only ever been there in wintertime. We used to go down there once a year to do the Rally of Invercargill. And it was just cold. That's my main memory of Invercargill. It was cold. Todd Denio, with the old cars, the book for times of jobs is just a bit of a joke. More often than not, it is way off on actual times. Yeah, that's what I've found, and that's why I just don't use it. I just charge people, what it takes me. If it's a bit quicker, then good. If it's a bit longer, sorry, but these cars are old. They're stubborn, like we are. Weary Bunny 35967. Had any more classic car lot specials? No, actually I haven't for a little while. I haven't. Yeah, they kind of come in fits and starts like that, but I don't know. Maybe they're trying a bit harder at the classic car yards. I don't know. Yeah, maybe the video, the videos that are being put out there by me and Tony and multiple other people are actually, maybe folks are starting to become a little more aware, which would be great if they are. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Yeah. John Wilburn, hey, good to see you again. Good to see you in the house, man. Volfly, I've been reading too much Hunter Thompson books today. Oh, really? Don't know the name, Hunter Thompson. Excuse my ignorance. Dean Stevenson, Frank Zappa used to ask to see what weapons are in the trunk before leaving a gig. Really? Wow. Firefly sounds like a good rule, just not when you're in the depths of an ether binge. Oh my goodness, no. Hunter S. Rocked. Oh, past tense. Johnny Depp is the heir apparent. Okay. GFR, nice comments on the quick fuel. I put a 450 CFM version on my Holden 253, and I think I've got it pretty right with the change to the accelerator pump cam and basic adjustments. Yeah, I mean, they're they're universal carburetors, and like every engine's different. So yeah, like that's kind of a contradiction in terms. So you definitely have to. I mean, sometimes you're lucky and they run awesome out of the box, but no, not typically. You've got to finesse them a little. Because one thing the carburetor makers do, and that applies to Edelbrock and Holly and Quick Fuel and whoever else there is, for a replacement carburetor that's not a engine specific, like a 600 Holly will go on to anything you choose to put it on. So they always jet them on the fat side, on the rich side, because what they don't want is someone putting a carburetor on that's going to be too lean and then hurting the engine and then going back to the manufacturer and saying, hey, your carburetor melted down my engine. Whereas if they set them up on the rich side, all you're going to do is have, your gas mileage is going to suffer. When they're not so rich, they're going to bore wash it. But they can be a little, like, I don't know, pulling a number out of the air, but like 10 or 15% too rich, and which the car will run just fine, but it'll just get poor gas mileage and be a little down on power. So yeah, typically you have to tweak them a little. I didn't realise Quick Fuel made a 450 though. That's a nice little carburetor. People overcarburate engines all the time, in my opinion. But yeah, for a 253 cubic inch, which is not a big engine, 450 would be ideal. It'd give you a good throttle response. You go too big in a carburetor and they actually start to stop working very well, unless you're like wide open throttle and close to the rev limiter. But for round town driving, and off just a little bit off idle, kind of running, you need a small carburetor, or on the small side rather than on the large side. Eric Uncaffer, March pulley kits, V-belt to serpentine, any good? Yeah, I'm a big fan of those. If you've got if you've got 3 accessories, say like alternator, power steering, and air conditioning, then the serpentine's the way to go. Absolutely, it's the way to go. March, the brand March. I'm not. They were kind of the front runners in the front drive department. Because they call them that serpentine, the system they call a front drive. But they've kind of sat on their hands a little bit. There's better sets out there. CVF products, CVF, they make a really good serpentine drive system. And there's a couple of them out there. And March, I'd have to say, not a bad product by any means, but they're not top of the heap. They're not top of the pile anymore. Like I've got a March one on my Mustang, the KSV, and not had a single problem with it. But it's a 12-year-old system now, and like it doesn't have an automatic tensioner in it. You actually have to put adjust your accessories and pull the tension into the serpentine belt, and that's I mean, most of the other brands have an automatic tensioner in it, which is way better. Yeah. Small block Chevy, any of the serpentines, doesn't really matter the motor, but any of the serpentine systems are good. If you're just running an alternator or just running an alternator and power steering, I don't know that you have to go to the expense of a serpentine. But as soon as you hit 3 accessories, I feel like you're better off with the serpentine, and they look pretty cool too. That's the bonus. You're never going to get a multi-accessory V-belt system to look as cool as a serpentine. Driveway of Misfits. Did any of the Kiwis back home comment about your accent having become more American? No, they didn't, and I was kind of surprised by that, I'll be honest, because I do feel like it has changed, because I know when I first got here, most people you had to interact with had trouble understanding me. Most Americans had trouble understanding me, and I had to slow down, my speech, to the point where I think it started to sound like you were talking down to them, like they were simple, like saying your words very slowly so they could understand. You start talking like that, and people get a bit grumpy. So it was, I had to slow it down, but not too much, because they'd get annoyed. But it was funny. You'd rattle off into something that you'd be, like animated about, and you could see them just glaze over. They were like a sentence back, trying to decipher what I'd said a sentence ago, and not even listening to what I was saying in the very moment. And then you kind of have to give them a pause to let them catch up. So, but I haven't had to do that for many, many, many years. So I do think that my accent has changed, but maybe I just reverted to full Kiwi when I got back there. I don't know. Beagle Bob, glad to see the F100 running. Looking forward to seeing that become something really nice. Yeah. There's a few potential things coming up with that. A few interesting things which I'll keep under my hat not that it's a big anything secret squirrel stuff, but there's some things in some interest from different sectors about that truck. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that, if anything. We'll see. Don't mean to be too cryptic, but yeah. Until it happens and some parts start arriving, I don't want to say too much. Mark Strulia, pictures in above post. What does that mean, Bob? Pictures in above post. Todd Denio, Kiwi, you could likely get that part for the shift buttons from the French Lake Auto in Minnesota. Okay. French Lake Auto, not heard of them. They Mopar guys, are they? Stray Bullet, I want to see how Cletus does in NASCAR. Well, that's how out of touch with NASCAR is, because I really don't know who you're talking about. Cletus. Which Cletus is that? Andy Nickel, Cletus crashed early, now looking Talladega. SSP. Super Speedway. No, I'm not sure who Cletus is. That's just how out of touch I am with NASCAR. Sorry, guys. Granddad's Junk, I've started on the poly build. I will do a series on it. I'm no mechanic, so it's super cheap bush mechanics using what I have parts. Parts are very expensive here, and I started on inlet manifold. Started on the inlet manifold. Should be fun. Cool. What are you doing for an inlet manifold? Are you using 2-barrel or 4-barrel? 4-barrel's a little scarce, but there's one for sale near me. I've seen it on Facebook here. A 4-barrel Mopar intake. I think they want about $500 for it. So that's US dollars too, of course, which is like 800 New Zealand plus shipping. Yeah, that'll be a $1,200 intake, no problem. Time to get it to New Zealand. But if you wanted it, I could get it and box it for you and send it. Thomas Dahlman, grandson is 24. Okay. Here's a turboed Mazda. It's putting a 392 and a 97 Ranger. Now, when you say 392, that's a 392 small block, like 351 based engine. Yeah. Or is it a 392 Hemi? Hey, I tell you what I have got coming in, it's scheduled to come in, I haven't seen it yet, is an F100 truck about the same year as mine. And the guy has got an old school 392 Hemi in the Ford truck, and he wants me to put a TKX 5-speed behind it. So that's going to be an interesting one. I never really thought I would see an F100 with a 392 Hemi in it. But that's why I can't ask if it's a 392 Ford or a 392 Hemi in the Ranger, which would, the Hemi would, that'd be a big engine to put in a Ranger. Whew. Stray Bullet, he was doing great until he started crashing. Well, that was a little bit like me in rallying. I was always doing great until I crashed. Yeah. That was a 302, not a 392. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that 0 and 9 are right beside each other, aren't they? I do that all the time. There you go, 302 and a Ranger. This is a great swap. That's a good swap for a Ranger. And you can buy all the bits for it too. Like pre-made, all the engine mounts, all that sort of stuff. Granddad's junk. Invercargill is nice in summer and it gets horizontal rain and hail from those freezing southerly gale force winds. Yeah, I can remember it being bitterly cold down there a couple of the times we were down there. Subterranean garage. Yeah, the writing's a little small on my phone screen. Sorry, I'm on the phone, guys. I don't know whether you caught it earlier, but for those who've come in a bit later, I cannot get my computers tried 3. None of them are working they're working fine on everything else. They'll get the internet, they'll do everything. I can watch YouTube videos, I can post YouTube videos on my laptops. It will not, none of them will do a live stream. And I'm totally, this is where technology and me don't necessarily get along, Granddad's junk, in that my computer, I always used to do my live streams on my laptop and it worked just perfect. And then, when I had Kevin Tates and TC on a couple of weeks ago, it decided it didn't want to play the game anymore. And I have not been able to get a laptop of any description to be able to do a live stream at my house again. I have no idea why. I'm actually wondering if it's something to do with our internet here at the house. But, yeah. Now, Subterranean Garage. How's Large Marge doing? She's not doing very much at all at the moment. Yeah, I replaced that floor on the passenger side, and obviously messing around with that seat tracks, but that's as far as it got. Been just pretty busy at work. Had the F100 come in and take up a little bit of that personal project time. But I think that's going to pay off. So she'll be back in rotation soon, but we've got a little Sunbeam Alpine that has to get into the rotation, let alone be back in it. Got to get that rolling pretty soon. Barracuda, Kiwi on an inline 6 valve cover with a PC valve at one end. Oh, excuse me. Yawning. And a breather cap at the other end. Isn't that a vacuum leak? PCV valves are a vacuum leak. That's exactly what they are. Most, like the V8s have a PCV valve on one side and the breather cap on the other. And, the PCV is pulling air through that breather. No question. If it doesn't have enough crankcase blow by, to keep up with the suction that it has. And like some pro stock, I've heard a story, and I don't know it to be absolutely fact, but it made sense, and that some of the pro stock guys would run 2 PCV valve to give themselves a performance advantage, because it was basically like, I'm not sure, the pro stock might not be quite the right class, but that one where you had to run stock, predominantly stock, they were allowed to run 2 PCV valves, and that allowed them a tiny bit more air into the carburetor, without breaking any rules. So they'd run a twin PCV valve setup as a performance advantage because of the vacuum leak that it gave them. Which sounds bizarre, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense. Andy Nickel, Kiwi, stop playing with the phone. It's making a bad noise, LOL, or not. Must be tiring holding it on a stick. No, I'm holding it in my hand, mate. It's probably me rubbing my... yeah, you're right. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm sorry it sounds like that. That's that noise there, isn't it? Sorry, guys. I'll stop doing that. I don't even realise I'm doing it. Sorry about that, man. Alan Shildroff, 10% off $50 max on eBay auto parts till 227. Really? Good to know. Good to know. Andy Nichols, sorry, no, you didn't sound whiny, mate. Look, if you don't tell me, I don't know. So I'm good with that. I'll stop making the noise. That's you don't want to be listening to that. Andy Nichols, Sebring should be warm by now. Got to get groceries. Back later, maybe. Okay. Oh, you've been warming up the Sebring outside. Yeah, well, you'd have to, wouldn't you? Those temperatures. Good grief. Valvefly, Barracuda, PCV valve is a controlled vacuum leak to combustible vapours. Very normal. Yeah, that's exactly right. Fishing Gerald, hey man, didn't see you there. Welcome along. Fishing Gerald went down to South Georgia Motorsports Park and watched the last day of Sick Week. Snot Rocket. A green Mustang set the record for drag radials. It ran a 607. Wow. 239 on the quarter. That's serious on drag radials. Wow. Wow. That's seriously fast. That would have been a good view, good watch. Huh. Mark Strulia, does Marge have front disc brakes? No, she does not. I have a link to use factory FJM parts from Chrysler. I'd like to see that. Yeah, I did inquire about some disc brakes, and someone sent me a link, but it was using Willwood stuff, which and I went to Willwood and said, hey, what's this kit you've got? And they don't have it. It's a kit that's made... someone's buying some Willwood parts and putting a kit together, but it's like $1,300 for a set of disc brakes for the front, and I'm like, oh, that's for very, and I don't know, it was a bit too rich for me, given what you were buying, which was some Willwood calipers, some fairly basic rotors, and a bracket that looked. You could tell it wasn't Willwood, a full Willwood kit. Like the mounting and stuff was a little more homemade than Willwood ever do. I'd be interested to see that link. Yeah, please send it to me. Yeah. Stray Bullet, that Mustang is fast. Yeah, it certainly is. Mark's truly pics of shifter trim. Yeah, I can do that, man. I can, because interestingly on the other side of the dash is the push button heater controls. So it's almost a mirror image of the shifter. I can show you kind of where the hole is, and I can show you exactly what it should look like. Fishing Gerald, Cletus McFarlane. That name propped up in my head, and I thought, no, that can't be Cletus McFarlane in NASCAR, surely. Are you talking about... So Cletus is running an El Camino at 6 weeks. That's drag racing. Yeah. Cletus is a YouTube star for sure, yeah. I'm not a big fan, I'll be honest with you. He seems to just trash stuff for views, and I've never been a fan of that kind of TV, shall we say. Stang 1892, you talk funny. I've been told that, mate, yeah. I have been told that. You're not the first to bring that to my attention. But hey, I mean, you American guys, sound a little funny too, You all think you don't have accents, but trust me, you do. Stray Bullet, Kiwi doesn't know who Cletus is. Yeah, I know who Cletus McFarlane is, but I didn't... Were you guys talking earlier about him being in NASCAR? Did I get that right, or is it a different Cletus? I'm a little confused at this point. Yeah, he's very, very popular YouTube personality, mostly drag racing, but he dabbled in practically anything that has an engine. Oh, fair enough. I just really seem to know him for just trashing shit and setting it on fire and just wrecking stuff. Like he destroyed that Cybertruck, which in itself is not a great loss for a Cybertruck, but I mean, you're going to get views when you destroy $120,000 truck, for YouTube. It's nice if you're making the kind of earn from YouTube to be able to afford to do that, but yeah. Don Ballett, got a 351 Cleveland in your way. I could take it off your hands. No, I do not have any Clevelands, mate. I'd probably be hanging on to it, or it would be in the F100 by now if I had one. No, I don't have any. I haven't had one come across my path, unfortunately. Granddad's Junk, I've only got a 2-barrel, but I have poured it out where the carb goes on Tim at 318 will run. Tim at 318 will run. Did one and said he got good results. Thank you very much for offering to box and ship. I'll look into it. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be expensive New Zealand dollars by the time you get it there, but they're pretty expensive here for a used cast iron manifold, and they seem to go for around $500. And the aluminum ones, there's a handful of aluminum 4-barrel intakes that were made years ago, and they've since stopped being made. But they're going for $700-800 for the aluminum ones. So yeah. Driveway of Misfits. He's only mentioning the Sunbeam because Mrs. Kiwi is in the stream. Shh. You're not helping my cause any, bud. You're going to get me in trouble. I'm quite capable of doing that all by myself. Mark Strulia, got to go. Man, okay, see you, man. Thanks for dropping in. And yeah, send me those links and stuff. I'll send you some pictures. It'll be good. Fishing Gerald, Kiwi. YouTube has been having some problems. I had a hell of a time trying to post some shorts the past 2 days. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This has been going on for 2 weeks now. Like it was 2 weeks ago I had Kevin here, and that was the first time I've had trouble with lives. And the trouble hasn't stopped. Pop's Mustang Shop, go to Sunbeam Alpine. Looking forward to the updates. Yeah, so am I. I want to get into it. But yeah. Mike Batista, so why not try 4 PCV valves? I think that would go beyond the spirit of the rule in that particular class that I was referring to. And on just a regular road car, why not 4 PCV valves? Because you're not allowing the carburetor to do the job it's doing. You would have such a vacuum leak, you'd be idling it, you'd shut the carburetor and it would basically idle through the PCV valves. You'd probably, which would give fuel, so that wouldn't work either. So you'd have to have the carburetor open, 4 PCV valves, and you probably wouldn't get it to idle under 2,000 RPM. Because when you hook up a PCV valve, your idle speed goes up and you have to like wind the carburetor back. So if you multiplied that by 4, yeah, I don't think that would work too well. Stray bullet. How about forgetting to install the carburetor gasket? Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think it's quite the way either. Ooh. It's been a long, hard day. Sorry, guys. Fastback Cougar update. No updates on the Fastback Cougar. That's in theory going to be coming back one of these days. I'm just not sure which day that is. So, yeah, nothing to report on the Fastback Cougar, I'm afraid. Barracuda, I didn't know he's transgender. Oh, goodness, who are we talking about now? Cletus again. George Sharona, what's up, my Nika? Well, we have no idea, bud. That's something you'd have to tell us about. Don Ballett, he ran ARCA race. Okay. Stray Bullet, Kiwi's confusing Cletus for Whistling Diesel. Is that what I'm doing? Okay. I'm going to have to, yeah, all right. I'll have to have a look into that. Yeah, you might be right about that Whistling Diesel, though. Okay. I don't have enough time with my own YouTube and then, everything I got to try and get done at work. I don't keep up with what everyone else is doing. I mean, my one of my best buddies, Kevin, I struggle to find time to watch Kevin Tate's on his paint education. I have trouble finding the time to watch his videos. So, yeah. Don Ballett, he ran an ARCA race at Daytona. Okay. Fitzgeralding, yeah, Cletus is a showman, bit of a clown. Okay, I may be getting mixed up on that. I'm pretty sure I know who Cletus is, but I may be getting him mixed up with Whistling Diesel on that Cybertruck. So yeah, I may have got those two. That video and Cletus bass backwards. The dude, yes or no? Driveway of Misfits, the dude. Seems we have some trolls visiting us this evening. Oh, really? I didn't even notice. Oh, we got a super chat. Someone sent a super chat. Driveway of Misfits, $5. Next glass of bourbon is on me, Kiwi. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Cheers. I'm still working on this one, but I will, yes, I'll have one on you. Whoop. Like. 2 likes. There we go. Doing the likes now. How are the likes going tonight? 42 likes. Very good. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. It helps the algorithm, as they say. Granddad's Junk. Pity shipping is so expensive. There are Cleveland 351 here. My wife has a 351M engine sitting on the stand. Yeah. It's if you could fill a container with them, and if you could afford all that, the shipping would be not bad. But those, something that weighs 500-600 pounds to ship is, there's not a good way to send something that big. Edelbrot used to make a tri-power type manifold for the 318 poly. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I've seen the aftermarket aluminum 4 barrels, but not the tri-power, no. End of time. If you have to go to a smaller cap on a Duraspark 2, use an international cap. And rotor, the cap has male ends, so you can use your old plug wires. Fits perfect. Oh, interesting. Huh. Oh, it's a 4-barrel Granddad's Junk. It's a 4-barrel Cleveland. Nice. Fleetwood, hey man, how you doing? Oh, and Tavo's in the house too. Cool. Hey, Tavo. Just dropping in for a quick hello, guys. Well, hello. How you doing? You got that roof all finished welded yet? Must be getting close, man. Yeah, it looked like it was going on there quite nicely, the video I watched the other day. Vilefly, if I move anywhere, I'm taking my station wagon with me in a shipping container. However, I can't afford one, so I guess I'm stuck for now. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, if we ever head back to New Zealand, like head home, well, who knows, may retire there one day, back to New Zealand one day. I'll be taking Marge with me, that's my plan. So she'll be going in a container. Tavo, thanks, Misfit. Motivation to do the rest of the car is returning. Yeah, it's good. Sometimes you need to get over a hump at times. You hit those spots in a car, and in its those times during its rebuild, that it's all a bit much. But yeah, no, yeah, I'm glad you decided to do the roof that way. I do believe it was the correct way to do it, and I think that's probably backed up by the way it dropped on there. Nice. It's a lot of work to get it picked that apart like that, but they go together nice when you do them like that. Hey, what motor's going in that Valiant Tavo? Is that going to be the Hemi 6, or is that a 318 car? John M, what are your thoughts on lowering blocks? Worth it to lower a car 1 inch? Okay, it depends. There's not one single answer for that. If it's a performance car and you're going to be putting lots of power through it and maybe some hard braking, then the lowering blocks are not really the right way to do it. But I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it, but I've got 2-inch lowering blocks in March to drop her down, and I wanted to see how she would look that much lower, so I didn't want to just to recurve a set of springs, which aren't real common, in order to see. And Marge is by no means a performance car, and it's not a car you're going to be late braking in. A car like her, or something that you're not going to be too aggressive with all the time, then lowering blocks are just fine. It depends what you're going to do with the car, and whether you're going to be thrashing on it or just cruising. It makes a difference to how suitable a block is, a lowering block is. Tavo, no more done so far, Kiwi. It's on the back burner for a couple of weeks. Oh, your daughter's getting married. Yeah, I saw that on the video. Yeah, it's taken priority. Well, I mean, that's fair. That is it's a fairly big day, isn't it? And you get to give her away and all that sort of stuff, and try not to blubber. Being a tough Aussie boy, you don't want to be crying in front of everybody, but dads have a habit of doing that. Getting the Hemi 245 back in it, going to be a Pacer replica. Okay, I think I do remember you saying that at some point. Right. So what carburation will that have on it, Tava? Is that you're gonna have the triple side drafts on it? I think that was only a 265 thing, wasn't it? I gotta stop rubbing the side of my phone. I'm doing that again. Vilefly, I need to research overseas shipping for personal belongings. Perhaps I can make a house out of the shipping container when it arrives. A crappy house, but it's a start. There you go. Quite a few people are making houses out of containers these days. I see it on YouTube quite a bit, on the shorts and stuff like that. Fish Geralding, is supposed to rain here tomorrow. Cold front heading in. I might have to escape to Florida. Yeah, I think the cold front's coming in tonight here. It's supposed to snow from 9 o'clock till like 6 a.m. tomorrow. So, yeah, just how much snow is going to be on the ground when I wake up in the morning is going to be interesting. Might have to stay at home all day. John M, 71 Cougar, just cruising. No hard racing or braking. It sits too high in the rear and seems to sit lower on the driver's side. Yeah, okay. Well, so are you thinking about putting just a block on one side to try and even it up? Or now the Cougar springs, I'm not sure whether they're the same as the Mustang springs. I have a feeling they might be a little longer, but I might be wrong there. Yeah, I know the wheelbase is longer on the Cougar. A 71 as well. Yeah, don't know. I'm not sure whether leaf springs are available for them, like readily available. But yeah, I would. I wouldn't hesitate to put 1-inch lowering blocks in. Yeah, as long as you're not going to be doing pro stock launches from the lights and stuff like that, you'll be absolutely fine. Tavo, Carter BBD on the Valiant, just the slow version. Okay. They still went pretty good, I think. Driveway of misfits. Yeah, driver's side springs can sag with age. Yeah, just the extra weight of always having, that person always in the driver's seat. Yeah. Tavo, the scorching part of summer appears to be over here, so we can start living again. Yeah. Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, it gets brutally hot up there. Barracuda, I put 2-inch lowering blocks in a VH Valiant. And as the springs are almost flat, it seemed like the only way to lower it. Yeah, reversing the eyes can drop you a couple of inches as well if you reverse the front and rear eyes. Yeah. That just moves the whole leaf pack upwards by, particularly on the front eye, which are usually, somewhere in the 2 to 3 inch diameter, the front eye. That's how much lower it will take your car straight away without affecting the arch in the spring at all. Car Guy 458, what's your favourite car? I get asked that a lot, and that's a really tough one to answer. There's so many cars that I like. And, honestly, it can change a little bit from month to month or season to season, like what I really like. But I guess one of the groups of cars that I always come back to is that 57 to 59 Mopars. Be it Dodge or DeSoto or Plymouth or Chrysler, all of those ones in that 3-year window are just gorgeous, in my opinion. The Chrysler designers just absolutely nailed it, in my opinion. They were just like super good looking cars. Especially like some of I think it was a 58 or 59 DeSoto Fire Sweep, and some of those ones like that, the two-door hardtops were just gorgeous. John N, I could lose weight or add a lowering block. I'll use the lowering block. Fair enough too, mate. Lot less, lot less, heartache. Putting a lowering block in. Valfly, Gibeon meteorite used for the rings, high nickel content. Does not rust easily like the. I can't even say that well. Murion Lunesta meteorite. It's like scorched stainless steel with a huge crystalline grain pattern. Good Lord. You just never know what you're going to get, what the topic of conversation is going to be on these lives, do you? We're talking about meteorite rings now. That's crazy. How did that come up? Straight bullet, you can't go wrong with a gangster lean. Oh, good grief. Tavo, I've got a pair of adjustable front eye mounts. Huh. I haven't seen those. So it adjusts the height of the eye mount? Is it like they slot it or something, are they? Interesting. That's a new one on me. Granddad's junk. I agree. Those 3 years are so cool, even though the 30 Plymouth is my favourite. You could be a little biased as you own one. So, yeah. The 50 Savoy is right there. Yeah, 58 Savoy is right there. Yeah, I agree. Fitzgeralding, one of my favourites is the 1940 Ford Coupe. They make a nice hot rod. Yeah, Fitzgeralding, did you see that video that I did on my friend's 40 Ford with the small block Chevy in it? That's a super nice car. Did that about 6 months ago, I think. And the video really didn't do it justice. You have to see it to see how nice that car is. The TV just doesn't do it justice. It is a superb car. Right. Driveway of Misfits. I thought men's wedding rings were made of kryptonite. Yeah. That has been said, yes. Oh, geez, Beetle Bob, do those meteor rings hold up to EMPs? Oh, we're back on the EMPs. Very funny. What's this? The one and only Nicole. You are my favourite transgender YouTuber. Okay. I've been called a lot of things in my time, but not that before. No, that's a new one. Tavo AU, 3 holes standard. A bit low and very low. There you go. Driveway of Misfits. The trolls are back. Yeah, well, that could be the transgender thing. I guess that does seem very an odd comment. Fitzgeralding. Oh, you saw that video. Oh, good. You'd have liked that car. Trouble with, what's that? Adamantium. Once you've processed its raw form, you've got to keep it that way. Okay, good to know. Jeff R. popped out for a few minutes. Have we discussed tonight's bourbon yet? No. No one's asked about the bourbon tonight. Getting stiff here. Very comfortable. So the bourbon tonight it's just apple bourbon tonight again. It's not my, I probably have that more than most for sipping. Who likes my glass? I think that's a cool glass to be drinking bourbon out of. Barracuda, thanks very much, Tavo. I'm actually happy with the blocks. Fair enough. 2 inches was a little too much. I intend to reduce them 1/2 inch. Interesting. Yeah, Marge is certainly plenty low enough with 2-inch blocks in it. I certainly wouldn't want to go any lower at all. Vile fly beats the trolls with a fly swatter. Todd Denio, a 40 Ford Tudor Deluxe. Nice. 460 Ford top loader 4-speed Heights Mustang 2 IFS. Jam, that'd be a bit of a beast, wouldn't it, with a 460 in it? Very cool to have a Ford and a Ford too. Not a Chevy and a Ford, but yeah, don't tell Doug I said that. Tavo, heading back to work. Yeah, you got to pay the bills, man, don't you? Especially, you've probably got some expenses with that wedding coming up, I'm sure. Beagle Bob, I think my wedding band is made of dark matter instead of gold. Its gravity field just keeps me gaining mass. It's a mystery. You think it's the ring that's causing the increased mass? Someone's kidding someone, but yeah. Stray Bullet. We used to think the dude was a troll, but now he's the moderator. Kiwi does things differently on his channel. There you go. That's true. Yeah, the dude had a few odd comments early on there. Yeah, but I remember that. Kiwi, should I ban the troll? I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of silly comments, really, not particularly offensive. So, I don't know. Don't know. If they pop up again, yeah. It's just kind of pointless, really, the comments. But hey. Fly, it was a movie quote. Sorry, it makes no sense. Hang on, what was it? What was the quote? Beats the trolls off with a fly swatter. Okay, no, that made sense. Stray Bullet, that's the motto of my love life. Just Geraldine, that's a Falcon called glass. Yes, it is. Yes, you're right. Cheers, mate. Mate, I have a round ice ball maker for my bourbon, but it's all melted. That's what happens when it takes, I've spent an hour and a half nursing this, so, the ice melts, especially when you're holding onto the glass. Granddad's junk. My wife just made some bourbon and cinnamon whiskey. Very nice. Good farming stock. I'm lucky to be married to her. Yes, well, that's right. And she's making you bourbon and cinnamon whiskey. Wow. Yes. Yes, you've done well there. Beagle Bob, if silliness gets people banned, I better start making new accounts in advance. Jeff R, did any of you stateside fans get a hold of Whittaker's Jelly Tip Chocolate? That's a good question. That's good. We were talking about it. Was that last week we were talking about that? And someone found it on Amazon. And mate, that's the shit, that stuff. That's so good. Car Guy 458, you like the 69 Plymouth Roadrunner? Absolutely, I like the 69 Plymouth Roadrunner. But is it my favourite? Well, yeah, this is why I have trouble answering that question. And I get asked it a lot, what's your favourite car? I guess because, the amount of people that I meet, that are into cars. And so I get asked quite a lot. And it's just such a tough one to answer. Yeah, I could probably give you a list of 30 favourite cars. But one, that's a bit tougher. Yeah, I'd rather try and give you 30 than one. Driveway of Misfits. I've never seen it, but there's a store at the shopping mall that only sells imported treats from around the world. That sounds like my kind of shop. Gutter Boys, Springfield, Ohio. My gender, yeah, okay. Stray Bullet, never heard of Jelly Tip Chocolate. Yeah, it's good, mate. You need to try it. If you ever see it, you need to try it. It's delicious. It's a mixture of white chocolate, like brown milk chocolate, with like a jelly, raspberry flavoured filling in it, and it's actually named after an ice cream, like an ice cream treat, which was made of vanilla ice cream that was chocolate dipped, and it had a raspberry jelly tip at the very top of the ice cream that was all covered in the chocolate dip, and they were called a jelly tip because literally the tip of it was made of jelly. And then they went on years later to make a chocolate bar version of it. So it's very, very good. Beagle Bob, how do you feel about Edelbrock intake manifolds? Yeah, they're good. They're good. they they make a good intake manifold. I mean, it's not necessarily. I'm not saying it's the best intake manifold. There's quite a few intake manifold manufacturers, but they make some good stuff. And that whole carburetor thing, there's so many people swear by them. And the thing is, like they're happy with them, and that's awesome. Some people swear by Chevrolet and some people swear by Ford, and who's going to prove which is the better one, or Mopar, or Rolls Royce? Like people have their favourites, and there's an awful lot of people out there that love the Edelbrock Carb. I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's just the carburetor, not the rest of their product line. Beagle Bob, does anyone else ever mix jam or jelly into vanilla ice cream? I haven't done that. No, I haven't done that. Sounds pretty good though. Jelly into ice. I had often had jelly and ice cream together, and that tends to get mixed up a bit. Yeah. Not jam and ice cream though. Junkyard Geo, Kiwi, new shop truck is great. Ford is number one. Oh yeah, that's kind of my sentiment. Yeah. But yeah, glad you like the truck. It's proving to be a popular vehicle. The videos are getting good views and good comments. Yeah. Yeah, and I was saying before, I think there's going to be quite a bit more to come on that, but all will be revealed in time. Stray bullet. I wonder how much the tariffs would be to import this jelly tip chocolate. Yeah, well, I don't think there's any tariffs coming from New Zealand, mate. I don't think there's any tariffs at all. It's the Mexicans and the Canadians and the Chinese that are paying the price. Dean Stevenson, it's good, honest chocolate. You don't want that. I want food that makes me lie. Granddad's junk. Tip Top make jelly tip ice cream in a 2 litre. Yum yum. It doesn't last long. Also, the Rocky Road ice cream is very nice. I didn't realise they were Tip Top were making it like in a 2 litre. Wow. Not just a little pre-packaged ice block type size, one person size. Interesting. Todd Deny, Edelbrock is a decent intake, but I preferred Offenhauser when I was still building engines. Yeah, and often, with stuff like that, it'll put the power band in a slightly different place depending how they're designed. And some of the manufacturers go for all-out, high RPM performance, and some go for mid-range or lower, or but Offenhauser was certainly one of the huge names in that type of thing from way back. But I mean, Edelbrock's been around forever as well, haven't they? So yeah. Dean Stevenson. Just tell them they won't import the tip of the jelly, 25% off. Yeah, well, okay. That's funny though. Stray bullet, after a lifetime of research and study, I can confidently say that Ford is the best. Yes, it's the age-old automotive argument, isn't it? Tell you what, it'd be interesting, if you went up to the top of Mount Panorama at Bathurst in the Aussie touring cars and started saying that too loudly, you'd get a bit of pushback, I can tell you. Maybe not beaten up, but you'd get a bit of pushback. The Aussies are funny. And you know, I'm not saying anything derogatory at all, and I'm sure any Aussie listening would agree, but the passion that the Aussies have for the Ford and Holden, which is GM, is very strong, very strong. It's quite interesting, and not something I ever really came across in New Zealand. There was the guys in hot rodding that had their Chevy and Ford, you know, camps within the hot rodding circles, but that was really as far as it went. But Australia as a nation almost has a Ford GM thing going, and it's very, very prevalent in the motor racing circles. Um, yeah, and it's good to see. I mean, they were very staunch supporters of their own. You know, it was a national product. It was their own product, and they were very proud of building very good cars. You know, as they should have been. Volfly, oh crap! Tariffs reminds me. I knew a Russian. You a Shanker hat. Yeah. Yes, ear flap hat. Okay. For this cold weather, my old one is worn out. Yeah, well, it's going to cost you more now, mate. You might only get one ear flap these days. Just have to put up with one. Richard Stanbury, non-auto question. Thinking about investing in gold stocks. Tell me about gold mining in Australia and New Zealand. Mate, if I knew a thing about it, I'd tell you, but I really don't. I know there's a lot of mining goes on in Australia, not much in New Zealand. New Zealand had its own little mini gold rushes back in the day, but it was very small. To my understanding, it's a very small time, and I don't know that you could even buy stocks in New Zealand gold mining. Australia, I'm sure you'd be able to. But is it a good idea, bad idea? Is it good returns? Mate, I have no answers for you whatsoever. I'm sorry. Jeff R, does the Mustang motor in the Ford truck appear to have any work done, cam, etc.? I think it might have a mild cam. And it's got an aluminum intake on it. It had headers on it, but they didn't come with it. So yeah, I think it'd have been, you know, pretty mild. It didn't sound like it, you know, like it was. I've got it running pretty good now, and kind of got it running enough to pull it out of the shop and park it in the car park. In all honesty, I haven't gone a lot further than that because we've got no brakes to go and road test it with. Well, not no brakes, but not enough brakes. So once we get some brakes in it, then we can actually give it a proper test drive where that's not terrifying, and you know, be able to find out. But it sounds like a strong motor, you know. Like you can usually hear a motor that's like healthy. It has a slightly different sound to a stock one, and it sounded strong, you know. It's still just a 302. It doesn't sound like a powerhouse big block, but it sounded strong. You know, good throttle response. Sounded like it wanted to go. So yeah, kind of hopeful for that. Barry Cooter, do you remember the ice cream that was banana flavoured with a chocolate tip? No, I do not. I've never been a fan of bananas, so that's probably why I don't remember it. Not a big fan of bananas. Ugh. Dean Stevenson, rather like calling the North Island, the South Island, the South Island, it's a Kiwi thing. Jelly tip, because the tip is all jelly. That's right. That's right. Exactly right. Vilefly. Often Hauser had some pretty crazy designs. Really? Okay. Don't know a lot about them. Tim Miller, go car parts before the prices are up. Yeah, well, they're not going to get any cheaper. I mean, most of this, you know, there's a huge amount of car parts come in from China, so they're going to go up. Stray Bullet, we're talking about ice creams. Good grief. We have those here, Barry. Chocolate banana Astro Pops. Good to know. Todd Denier, Stray Bullet, Fomoco, Mopar, GM, AMC, Studebaker, and other American brands all had good ones and bad ones, but the main thing is they are American. This is it. Oh, not enough even. Yes, American, all the main brands, you know, the people that are diehard Chevy fans and that, they know that Chevy made some disasters. And Ford made some disasters and they made some gems. You know, and so did Chevy. So, yeah, it's... Granddad's junk. That's, yeah, okay. Well, he would have a better idea about gold pricing. Yeah, gold mining here in the south is steaming ahead. Still plenty of gold being found. We have gold in our creek. Oh, wow. That's how you can have all those Mopars, I guess. Just pan a bit of gold and buy a 4-barrel intake. There you go. Dean Stevenson, that's where I did the short of Barracuda's yellow boat a few months ago. Okay. I didn't even realise you actually, Dean, you do videos, you're doing shorts? I didn't even know. I need to subscribe. Todd Denier, yeah, Offie had some wild stuff. Interesting. Oh, good grief. Well, there's always smuggling meteorites out of Namibia might be profitable, eh? Could well be. Hmm? Teen Stevens. Australians motor racing and tin tops, touring car guys are beautifully hardcore. Yeah, they really are. It's great to actually watch. The passion is it's fun. It's just fun, and it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure it has gotten nasty at sometimes with one too many beers and stuff like that. But typically, it's pretty good-hearted. 99% of the time. When Ford wins, the Holden guys suffer, and vice versa. A fair bit of shit gets tossed back and forth over who wins and who didn't. But tin tops, yeah, Dean. I thought that's what you meant. I was trying to translate in my mind as I was reading that. Fitzgeraldine, the Dodge Stealth had a variable plane intake manifold. It would transition from low rise to high rise and vice versa depending on RPM, load, etc. Electronically operated. Really? I didn't know that. I've heard of some intake manifold. I can't remember what it was on the engine, but yeah, that had some kind of like a flap type valve, and that would bypass the air, either the long route or the short route, make the runners shorter and longer. I can't remember who did that though. Barracuda, have another look, Kiwi. There is plenty of gold mining in the South Island and going to be more. Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea, and it's not something I've really thought about to look at, but I was only basing it on the fact that I hadn't heard much about it, but obviously I've been looking and listening in the wrong places. Not something I really pay attention to. But I know they had, some gold rushes going on in New Zealand. I just hadn't heard anything about it of any recent times. But from what you're saying in Grandad's Junk, it's they're doing pretty good. The Phyllis, you should go mountain biking. No, you got to pedal. Yeah, no. If God had wanted us to pedal, He wouldn't have invented the internal combustion engine. That's my theory. So yeah, no pedaling for me. I'm too old. Josh Homan, meteorites fall everywhere. No need to go to Namibia for them. Oh, good grief. Oh dear. Grandad's junk. Pioneer Paulie has some videos on gold dredging here in the West Coast South Island. Is that on YouTube, bud? I'm assuming it is. Dean Stevenson, Western Mining Mintech. This was not gold mining advice. That's funny. Vilefly. Namibia is the source of the Gibeon meteorite. Best quality for rings. Don't rust like the others do. Wow. I mean, you learn something every day, don't you? And I learn something every live because that was never really crossed through my brain waves of rings made from meteorites. Didn't know it was a thing. Todd Denial, here we go. Most gearheads are confused about who created the small block Chevy. Well, I think most of them think Chevy did, but I'm guessing you might be about to tell us something different, but Stray Bullet, I wish I had a gold mine on my property. Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. Vilefly, it's now illegal to export Gibeon meteorite. I got my rings just before the trade was shut down. I'm going to have to look these things up. I've never even heard of it. So is the product? Like, what is the material? Is it like more of a metal, or is it more of a meteorite? Makes me think of a big rock, but is it a type of stone that the ring's made out of, or is it metal? Car Guy 458. Personally, I think the late 60s to early 70s Plymouth and Dodges were the best. Hard to argue with that, but it's hard to argue with that. I mean, that's your, as you say, personally, and so it's your personal opinion. So, but when I say hard to argue with that, I mean it's hard to disagree with you because I mean that's your reality. That's what you like the best. And I can't say, oh no, those are ugly, because they were some very serious muscle cars back in the day. I mean, and I do think when it comes to the muscle car wars, I think Mopar actually had it, to be honest, in my opinion. In their design, maybe not the peak numbers or the peak performance or the most number of wins in racing or anything like that, maybe not, but they were, I guess for my thinking, that like the most radical kind of muscle cars were built by Mopar in that era. They were, they were kind of out there. They were on the leading edge, I think. Grandpa's junk. I have a 6-inch dredge. It's hard work, not easy sucking up gravel. Don't suppose it is, mate. No. Vilefly. My daughter will get the extra slab I have left over for her ring if she gets married. That's kind of cool. Jeff I like several of Buick's late 60s, early 70s design. Being a GM brand, do Chev drivetrain and suspension components interchange if needed? Depends on the year. 50s and certainly earlier to mid 60s, they were keeping the companies quite separate. And then probably around that mid-60s, they started to overlap componentry much more. As costing became, like labour, like the making of the cars was becoming more expensive and more competitive, and they were having to, instead of GM making, 4 completely different cars for a very similar segment, they started a little bit more of the, badge branding, really just the badges being the differences between Buick and Pontiac and things like that. They started to share the same motors, rather than building, 4 different big blocks, Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Buick. It was just becoming too much of an excess to have that many different versions of, a 6-litre motor, a 7-litre motor. It made more just fiscal sense to have one big block, one 6-litre, one 7-litre, whatever cubic inches, and it was just more cost efficient. And the market was getting more and more competitive, and the consumers were expecting more and more from their cars, for less. They had to stop being completely different brands. So probably going into the 70s, a lot of stuff would have interchanged, I would say. That's been my experience anyway. Max level Kiwi speculators worldwide wish to know when stock options in Kiwi's Metal and Mining LLC will be available. Will you be gold plating the F100? Not at this point, no. There won't be any gold plating of the F100. There may be some more greenbacks going into the F100, but no gold plating at this point. It's funny. Stevenson, free shorts. Okay. Stray Bullet. The SN95 Cobra Mustangs used a similar style manifold. Okay. I'm talking to Fishing Gerald. It was kind of troublesome because it would get dirty and require cleaning to work properly. Yeah, just stick and not move in and out like it should. Yeah. Richard Stanbury, gold mining stocks are way underinvested. Price is probably going up, so it might be good to get in before that happens. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a little bit like property in a way, isn't it? Like it fluctuates, goes up and down, but ultimately it's always going up. It's always going up. Josh Homan, they might not. GM divisions competed against each other back then and made their own parts. Yeah, it depends exactly when back then is. It did, and I don't have the exact year for you, but I know they did. The 4 divisions had to start working together rather than competing against each other. There just came a time when they had to do that. Just the bottom line. Said, it had to be done that way, or the bean counters said that. Todd Denier, for making rings, I prefer I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Makuna. I was going to say Makuna Matata. Makuma Gain. Okay. Yeah, Josh Homan, some meteorites are stone, some metal. That's why I was kind of asking. I'm just not sure what product you guys are talking about. Here we go. Todd Denier. Most gearheads think Zora Arcus Duntov is who developed the Chevy small block, but it was actually designed by Ed Cole. I've heard of Duntov. Okay, but I didn't know the first name, Zora Arcus Duntov. I heard of Duntov. Yeah. Barracuda, BNZ, which is the Bank of New Zealand. It's like the big national bank in New Zealand, kind of like Bank of America in a way, I guess, is in the news lately for not lending to businesses associated with fossil fuels. Really? That's disappointing that they would do that. That's very, very short-sighted. Wow, very green, like way too green. Driveway of Misfits, Barracuda. New Zealand is also nuclear free, right? Yeah, nothing nuclear in New Zealand. Yeah, that was a big to do back in the, I think it was the 80s, when they banned, New Zealand banned the American warships from coming into New Zealand harbours unless they would, well, they didn't ban them like outright. They said if you won't tell us whether your ships have nuclear weapons on, we won't allow them into the New Zealand harbours. And of course the Americans, and which was their right to, it was their right to refuse to confirm or deny. They wouldn't say they didn't, and they wouldn't say they did. And why should they really? But from New Zealand's perspective, it's like New Zealand didn't want nuclear weapons in their harbour, so they wouldn't let the Americans come in, and that didn't go over well. The Americans were a little bit kind of peeved by that, if we're honest. I think they saw New Zealand as being a little bit of an upstart, a little bit uppity. This uppity little island down the bottom of the world is saying, we can't come and visit their harbours. It's like, who do they think they are? And there was an element of that, and it was a kind of ballsy stand by New Zealand to say, hey, to a country and an economy the size of America, to say you're not welcome here, was quite ballsy, really. Not most small political powers are reluctant to kind of give the finger, as it were, to the big countries, be that America or Russia or some of the China, some of the big economies. So it was quite ballsy, but New Zealand was very much behind it. The New Zealand public supported that stance from the government. It was interesting time. Dean Stevenson, it's untaxed carbon, Kiwi, just like the Ostrus Rex sample. Mate, you've lost me. I'm sorry. I'm not quite keeping up with this. It's all meteorite talk. That's, it's fascinating. But I'm struggling to keep up with that a little bit. Volfly, got my initial meteorite slab from eBay whilst doing research on the best type to choose. Grandpa ran a rock shop and it rubbed off on me. Oh, wow. That's kind of cool. Volfly, just Google meteorite rings. There you go. Well, guys, it's 9 o'clock or 9:01, so it's kind of that time again. The night has disappeared. Yeah, it's gone quick tonight. It's been an entertaining night. We've covered everything. From EMPs to wedding rings made of meteorites from another world. Yeah. What is that one? Steve Banner. What is the photo over your head? Okay, it is like it's a picture of a drive-in theatre. We're getting a hell of a glare back from the light in this room. Let's see if I can get you a better angle on it. just before we go. It's a cool picture though. I got it at a car museum somewhere. Trying to remember now. But yeah, it's like a 58 Plymouth Fury, I think. Steve McQueen's Mustang, the American Graffiti 32. What have we got? We got the Gone in 60 Seconds Mustang. We got the Thunderbird out of American Graffiti. That's then we got the Dodge Challenger there from Vanishing Point. We've got another Charger there. I can't remember what that's from. We got Thelma and Louise Thunderbird. We got Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. We got the 58 Chevy from American Graffiti, and yeah, it's just a cool picture. Hopefully, I was pointing the camera the right way then. For you guys to see it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool picture. I like it. I like it. It's a pride of place in the man cave. All right, guys. Well, it's time for me to go and get some shut eye before another day of fixing old cars again. And looks like I got a fair. Oh, there we go. Bowfly, keep watching the skies. Oh dear. All right. Okay, guys. Well, you guys have a great week. Thanks for chipping in, coming in and visiting. Thanks for the super chat. Not expected, but much appreciated. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Hopefully, there's a couple more videos coming out between now and then. And yeah, go and work on your cars, have some fun, and come back next Tuesday and tell me all about it. All right, fellas, take it easy. Have a good week. I will see you next Tuesday. Take it easy. There we go.